Hello, fermented folks.
We have P. Jelly Clark.
All Makatsu.
We have Travis Baldry.
Today we have a really special guest, Leopoldo Gout.
Are you reeling it in and defending Clown?
I am. Earth doesn't even exist in Battlestar Galactica.
This show gives me heartburn. I was like, I loves it, I hates it.
It's called All Fluff.
Oh!
If you didn't know how I actually feel about The Mandalorian,
Don't worry,
this is it right here. Hello, fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the show where we debate the best movies, books, and shows in the genre fiction realm that is fantasy, sci-fi, and horror by our definition. Thank you all for being here yet again. Tonight we have an excellent guest in Erik Keevan, my fellow co-chair of the Seattle branch of the Horror Writers Association. Erik, thank you so much for coming on the show, my guy.
Thanks for having me on. This is going to be fun.
Hell yeah, it is. Erik is a performer. He's a stage writer. He is a poet. He is a prose writer and just an all-around awesome person. So we're really glad to have him on and to get his opinion on our topic tonight, which is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Because we're getting Christmassy as fuck up in here, but that doesn't mean we still don't love Halloween to a borderline unhealthy degree. So before we do that, we'll start with our round of personal updates. We'll end with you, Erik, so you can tell everybody who you are, what you do, where they can find you. Jeremy, last come, first serve. What's up, buddy? What's going on in your life, personally? Update me.
Personally. I'm about to. If you just
Hurry
you
up.
gotta be cool, man.
Go.
Bro.
Go.
Bro.
We're never cool. Never
You're
cool.
here? Let's bring it down here.
You already know we ain't cool, buddy. Come on.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, I know. I've met you. It's great. So in my life, but can you just
Hurry up, dude. God. Time is
God's
a-ticking.
sake.
We are live
Yeah, I
right
know.
now, buddy.
I know we are. Hey, do you know we are? Because I know we are.
Let's get the fuck out of this show right now.
All right. Let's
But
go.
Trying to do anyway.
Passionate. my update is just that for many years now, people have been in general just kind of pestering me
Mhm.
to watch this movie and being
Right.
very surprised that I haven't already, because that makes sense. And now, hey guys, I did it.
All right.
Yeah, we made it happen. You all
Beautiful.
made it happen with persistence or something like it.
There you go.
We did it. We got there together, guys.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll hear what that means for you in short
Yeah.
order after the debate when we all talk about what we really thought of this movie. But before we do
Yeah.
that, I'll do my personal update because I've been kind of going Jeremy Travis pretty regularly, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and do me.
Okay.
You might notice that's Travis, not me.
Mhm.
You might be mistaken if you watch the Keith Rawson episode. There was some confusion there. You might see that I'm really repping LA today, as I do occasionally. I'm a really big Rams fan. Huge news for me, though. My turn off my brain media, my take it easy stuff to listen to, podcast or whatever, is football talk radio. So I've been listening to football talk all season, every day, whenever I want to turn off my brain. It's really weird this week because I'm actually going to the Rams Seahawks game tomorrow.
Nice.
Because it's
Hell
in
yeah.
Seattle. I get to go once a year. They come to Seattle every year. If you don't know that, we're in the same division. So in football, that means you always play a home game and an away game against them. So you're guaranteed to get a Rams game in Seattle, which is great as a Rams fan when you live really far from LA. But my brother-in-law is a really big Seahawks fan, and he gets tickets to it every year. So we are going tomorrow. And if you're not a football fan, you don't know this, but it's a really, really big, important game. It's basically a game to determine the path to the Super Bowl, which is coming right around the corner. So I couldn't be more excited. This is even if I wasn't going, this would be one of the most exciting games of any Rams season ever. I think, just because of all the circumstances. Again, if you don't know football, none of that's relevant to you, so I'll move on. But it's going to be a really big game. I'm very excited for it, as you can tell. So go Rams. Whose house? Rams' house. I'm really stoked.
Nice.
Truly.
Travis, what's up?
I had a different update in mind, and then I had a conversation with our father that
Oh,
I
sure.
just have to. And I'm sorry, Dad, if you listen to this, but I have to out it because I feel like I've moved up in the like adult man world, and that is I had an argument with my father about the direction and distance of a drive,
Sure.
and I was right.
man.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
I was
shit.
right. And I just have to say, like,
That's a
I
big
feel,
accomplishment.
I felt like my bones started to ache a little more. Like,
Yeah.
I'm suddenly like older. It was great. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But the argument
Oh,
was
yeah.
whether or not the Clearwater Junction is closer or farther away from Missoula, and I was correct that it's only like 20 miles away. He thought it was on the other side of Lincoln. For anyone that knows Montana, it is not. It is right down the highway from Missoula, Montana. So
You got him.
I got
Got him.
Nice. Hey, and
Love you, Dad.
love you, Dad. Like those of you who may not know football, you probably also don't know the dynamics of our family. But our dad is a farmer, a truck driver, so he knows those roads. He's driven all over Montana. He knows that state very well. So to overcome him in that arena, quite an accomplishment, bro. Quite an
Thank you.
accomplishment. Maybe
Thank you.
the greatest thing you've accomplished in your life to date, and it will be accompanied by some arthritic pain as you've already experienced.
Oh yeah, I feel it right in my back. My back just started to hurt, and I was like,
yeah.
this is it.
Yeah. But hey, that's like the
Podcasting days.
skill-based version of like when my joints started predicting the weather. So
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, my ankles and knees both do that now, so I'm just waiting for my back and my neck and stuff to catch up. All I got to do is keep sleeping in awkward positions, and I'll be there in no time. Erik Keevan, who are you, brother? What do you do? Where can people find you? Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I don't have any books out like some of your guests. However, I do have a lot of short stories out there, a lot of poems out there. If you're in Central Florida, I write for the Phantasmagoria stage play that happens every October and December for a Christmas edition. You can find all of my stuff at Erik Keevan, ErikKeevan.me. I have all of the links, and almost all of my stories are free to read online. So you can just go to my website, you'll find them all.
Hell yeah. And you've had a number of your plays performed in that Florida company, correct?
Yeah, I've had about a dozen shows performed down there at this
Nice.
point. Yeah.
You can also catch Erik around the Seattle area quite a bit because he always is facilitating events for the HWA. He does seasonal horror readings, the Seasons of Horror events at the Kirkland Arts Center. Those are really cool. Wherein he dresses up like his blog character Bonesley. It's a great costume, and he fully envelops the character as a theater kid through and through. So it's a lot of fun. Go check out. Just join the HWA newsletter and everything, so you know when your local horror writers are around doing cool shit. Erik is heading all that up, and we are a very busy chapter. So you can definitely come out and see me and Erik at lots of events throughout the year, especially as spring and convention season is right around the corner. I'm coming up on a lot of conventions here. So yeah, if you want to meet us or throw stuff at us or whatever you want to do based on your experience with this show, we'll be around. Join the HW newsletter and find us there.
Exactly.
And if you're not convinced yet, let's see if we can't convince you with the staple of our show, the debate section. This is what the show's built upon. The foundation, the meat and potatoes. This is everything we're all about here. We are going to pay some tribute to the dice gods by laying our opinions bare before their feet based upon whatever role they give us. So tonight, representing the literary realm is Erik Keevan, our guest, and representing Fermented Fiction is Travis Vermolem. They're both going to roll a D20 The high roll will defend Nightmare Before Christmas. Low roll will attack it, regardless of true feelings. Eric, are you ready to roll?
I am ready.
Travis, go ahead. Eric, go ahead.
Nat 20.
Oh,
okay.
shit.
Well, that kind of works out because I actually forgot to grab a die. Well, wait a second. That's right. I needed one of those.
Woo!
Well, I rolled for you, and I rolled a 2.
Perfect. There we go.
Just to drive it all the way home in case the dice gods, you know, what if we'd have rolled 2 nat 20s?
By the way,
oh god, that'd be
I've
sick.
found this like beautiful purple gemstone die that
that's cool.
I bought that was very expensive. I found that it's like make or break. I never rolled mid on this. It's always like nat 20 or complete failure.
Isn't that how it always
cannon.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a blast cannon. It's great.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, we're going to get into this debate, everybody. Travis will start because he rolled high and he is the defender. Jeremy, you got that timer and you want to bring us in as our honorary referee?
Of course, absolutely. We want a good clean debate right here. Something whimsical yet spooky if possible. And, you know, shots below the belt are only allowed if they're funny. And yeah, so we're going to get this thing going in 3, 2, 1, and go.
All right. So once upon a time, which I think is a great way to start this debate, Tim Burton and Henry Selick, Michael McDowell and Carolyn Thompson looked at the world and thought, how can we get Christmas and Halloween to just be woven together into a complete, beautiful tale of whimsy, delightful animation, simple yet memorable characters, simple yet memorable music, not writing, dialogue. The music is nothing. It's not simple. Fantastic music. And all of that just meshing together into one fantastically baked little cinematic cake in an hour and 15 minutes on top of that. So just a concise, beautiful piece of art. That's what The Nightmare Before Christmas is. That is why it is well known for so long. That's why it's become theater kid crack, which is what I call it. You go into any back room of any show, anywhere, at least 3 of those people probably are talking about The Nightmare Before Christmas, especially if it's around Halloween or Christmas. Someone's singing Jack Skellington songs. Somebody's quoting the movie. Somebody's talking about how Tim Burton can do no wrong. I think this is a big reason why Tim Burton has become the person known as he is today and so famous, is because though he didn't direct it, he produced it and wrote the story. And it has become an iconic IP. It is a beautiful film with absolutely gorgeous music that all kind of comes together. I know I'm repeating myself a little, but I want to focus first to open on all of that is seen in the first 5 minutes. You talk about a hook. This movie has it. Everyone knows, maybe not everyone, blanket statements are bad, but most people I've ever met know that this is Halloween's song. And yes, even if you know the song and haven't seen the visuals, go watch them. It is textbook perfection on how to do stop motion animation. It is every detail is completely realized. You can see the cuts in the ground and how the grooves were made to make the floor of the Halloween town look more foresty. Not Halloween town, but yeah, Halloween town. You can see how every moment is captured exactly how the puppeteers and the animators wanted it to be captured. You never get distracted by the visual effects of the shadows coming in over the more physical components of the clay. And all of that would be perfect on its own if it didn't also work in conjunction with the song. So if you've seen the first 5 minutes, you know what you're in for an hour and 10 more minutes. This movie hooks you in and it stays consistently beautiful like that for the entire run of 75-minute movie. So that's my opening theme of it's just a pure work of art and craft.
And I'm not going to actually disagree with you on a lot of that. The main issue that it has is a complete lack of depth beyond that. It is a beautiful veneer of something that wants to be stage play, and loses all the depth of things like Phantom of the Opera or Les Miserables, where we're not getting the same kind of character development. In fact, there's no character development. We literally return to stasis at the end of this story. It's based the writing the story that Tim Burton had was he wrote a poem, 3-page poem, and there is about 3 pages worth of plot in this 75-minute movie. And it follows the poem pretty much exactly, and just pads it with music, which, to your point, very, very good intricate music from Danny Elfman. But when you just have that kind of poppy ear candy, that's why it lives in the theater kid back room and not as part of this going down in history as being one of the best Halloween movies. It's being carried by the nostalgia of Hot Topic, and living that that kind of like just looking at it and feeling pretty about the story. But you don't think about the story afterwards. You don't finish watching Nightmare Before Christmas and think about your place in the world. You watch it and you say, "Oh, that looked really good," and it was a fun little ride. And yeah, so I guess that's where I'll take kind of pause, because I have some other stuff that's a little more specific about the story. But I think that that's really where this movie falls apart, is by not having much in the way of character depth or plot development.
I think sometimes I would maybe argue a little more against the character development, but like the plot is definitely simple, and I don't think that's actually to this movie's detriment. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with like the Hot Topic comparison. Even if that's supposed to be maybe a dig, like I think there is a place in the canon of great film for movies that just reached into specific groups' chest and grabbed a hold of their heart and were like, this is you. Like, we see you, we hear you, this one's for you. And sometimes those are the simplest things because they speak to like a universal thing. And I think there's a lot of people out there that can connect with Jack Skellington, of like the mundaneness of continuing to do the same thing over and over again. And even if he returns to that, you understand his motivation for wanting to like branch out and try something new, and then taking it too far. And to the rebellious Hot Topic theater kid, how like large does that sing as a sentiment of like, I'm not like the others, I want to try something else, that gets me in trouble. So I think what this movie did is it took those universal simplistic plot elements that speak to a lot of stories across time, and yeah, it condensed them down to a really sharp, concise 75 minutes, but I don't think that's a detriment to the story. I think it takes away any unnecessary baggage and distraction so that you can focus on the heart of it and the music that's really like elevating your emotion through that heart.
Yeah, fair point. What I will say though about that lack of character development is when we circle back to the moral of the story, because the moral of the story tells you that you should stay where you are. It kind of has that same end of like Grease, where like when you start pulling apart the actual ending, you're like, oh, wait a second, this is actually kind of like fucked up for us to say to kids. Because at the end, you're right, he crashes and burns, and there isn't like a middle ground. There isn't a like, hey, why don't we team up and have horror Christmas every year and you can come help out. It's a no, you need to go back where you're from. Like you need to go back to your hometown and you need to kind of keep going. And he implies that he has some new thoughts on what to do, but you never see any of that, so it kind of falls flat. And so at the end of the day, the moral of the story of Nightmare Before Christmas is, hey, go back to what you're doing. Go back to that boring, mundane, humdrum life. that's the only place where you belong. And so there is that element as well. And now, don't get me wrong, if I could live in Halloween Town, that would be awesome. Like, it is super pretty. There's a lot of cool, fun people that kind of populate it. But at the end of the day, if you want to go out and you want to do something else, like, can we have a little bit more variety to it? Or do we just have to have home for the home or not home?
Do you think, though, it was more saying, especially with like the Sally kind of side plot, and like, I don't even know, that seems more like a main plot, like with that it's saying less of like, go back where you're from, you tried it, you failed, blah, blah. More of a, you know, a home is where the heart is, and home is where the people are that you love and like dedicate your life to. Because I know I feel like Jack and Sally represent two different journeys in that same sense of like, she has her creator, father, whatever he is, the mad scientist, that she's trying to like separate from, but what she's actually seeking is the thing that he's not giving her that he's supposed to. Like, he's her creator, he's supposed to give her more like love and care rather than just like, stay here because I made you. And she's like looking for that in Jack, whereas Jack is looking for, like, he's elevated as the highest member of the Halloween Town, that they're like, you're our guy. And he's like, I thanks for all the praise, but I feel empty. So he's looking kind of in the opposite way for the same thing that Sally is. And then maybe they find each other in this sense. I see that stronger than I see the failure of his Christmas adventure being the like, just go back home, you know?
I think with Sally's character, I definitely see that journey, because that is what she's looking for from.
And you're done. You're done. We're cutting it off.
Well done, Eric. Well done.
It's over. Well done, everyone. You did it.
Great debate, lads. Great debate.
Good work, everyone.
You know what goes really well with a great debate?
A great drink.
A drink of the week.
A little
Hey,
Yeah.
a little bit of drink of the week.
I'll start.
Clay's got the Argo cup.
I do. I got this Argo cup. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
All
from
right.
the alma mater of Travis, Jeremy, and I. All three of us have alma matered that place. I don't think that's how that word works, but fuck it.
Probably
I
not.
brought Belching Beaver, great local brewery out here. They make a peanut butter stout that they're pretty famous for. It's delicious. This is their collab with the Deftones, called Phantom Bride. So it's an IPA that they made in collaboration with the old Deftones. They're from Oregon. Oceanside, California. And they are a fantastic brewery. If you ever see Belching Beaver in your local beer store, definitely try it out. The peanut butter stout is very, very good. That's what I say. That's what I drink. How about you, Trav?
I have a very fun one. So I went home for Thanksgiving, and we had it at our aunt and uncle's place, and they go to Mexico for vacation a lot, and they hate tequila, but they got this like really fancy bottle of Granuardo, and it was so kind of rare, I guess, that Chloe, my wife, looked it up and she like couldn't find it anywhere, and then finally found one of her bartender friends who had like been there and had it before, and was like, yeah, that stuff is not common in America. So I'm sipping it every once in a while for special occasions, which Nightmare Before Christmas, I was like, let's break it out. But it's very good tequila. Yeah.
Tequila in Mexico is different too.
Definitely.
It tastes so much better in Mexico, because I've hated tequila my whole life. That's actually my drink. That's like, get that away from me.
Yeah.
But in Mexico, I drank tequila and mezcal the whole time, and it was really good. But it tasted completely different.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeremy? Are you sipping on tequila as well, or what do you got?
Nope. Well, what I've done is I've got a maple old fashioned with some Jack Daniel's single barrel in there, because it's made of fall and it tastes like Christmas, and then Jack shows up.
Hell yeah. Perfect.
There you go. I love that. Yeah.
We'll call that the Skellington. That's
The
perfect.
Skellington.
There you go.
Perfect.
Nice. Eric, what about you? And then, what about you? Then we're going to do some
Yeah.
facts.
I got a couple of drinks here. One, I had a little Irish whiskey. This is Writer's Tears, the cask strength Writer's Tears. Very good. It's one of my favorite Irish whiskeys. So I got that when I stopped working at Amazon. My team bought me a bottle of it to wish me well. And it's also one that I pull out for special occasions. I mostly pull it out for an event like this or to celebrate a publication, something along those lines.
Nice.
Then I'm also drinking Groundbreaker's Inclusion IPA. I have gluten allergy, so I can't drink most beers. But Groundbreaker and Ghostfish are two great gluten-free breweries. So if you have a gluten allergy and you like beer, I would seek either of those two out.
Yeah, and I will second Wheatfish or Ghostfish. Their Wheatfish is a very good wheat Belgian beer. If you like that kind, that's one of my favorite kinds. So, and gluten free. They're actually really, really good. They're from South Seattle by the stadium. I might go by there tomorrow.
Yeah, all gluten free kitchen as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's good to have that option. Travis, you want to take over with some facts?
I know a lot of people are going to have more because there's a ton of facts about this movie, but for the sake of brevity on episodes, I've decided I'm just going to start making 10 fact lists. So these are my 10 favorite facts that I found.
What? Great
idea. Have any extras, jump in there after I read my 10. Okay, number 1, in no particular order. These are not ranked by favorite. They're just in the order that I found them. Tim Burton has said that the original poem was inspired after seeing Halloween merchandise displayed in a store being taken down and replaced by a Christmas display. The juxtaposition of ghouls and goblins sitting on the same shelves as Santa and his reindeer sparked his imagination. Everyone has probably seen that in their local Walmart and definitely maybe not written a poem about it. So thank you, Tim, for capturing the moment that as soon as I read that fact, I was like, oh yeah, I've been in Target when they're switching seasons, and that's 100% a weird thing to see. Danny Elfman found that writing Nightmare's 10 songs as one of the easiest jobs I've ever had. I had a lot in common with Jack Skellington. Having created demos of all the songs for the director's approval, Elfman had gotten really attached to Jack since he could relate to being loved and famous. But like Jack, he was no longer happy with this situation. He mustered up all his courage to ask his friend and producer Tim Burton if he could be the voice of Jack. But before he could finish, Burton simply told him, Danny, don't worry about it. You got the part. So took a lot of courage for Danny to ask for the voice as well as the songs, and it's cool that he got it. It took up a group of around 100 people 3 years to complete this movie. For 1 second of the film, up to 12 stop motion moves had to be made. Stop motion is amazing. Full stop. Director Henry Selick wanted to change the ending and reveal that Oogie Boogie was actually a disguised Finkelstein. Finkelstein, upon defeat, would admit that he was doing this because he was jealous that Sally chose Jack over him. This hints that Sally might have originally been more of a love interest of Finkelstein's rather than a daughter. Upon being informed of this change, Tim Burton flew in to tell Selick that he didn't approve of the change at all, feeling that it came out of nowhere with lack of any setup and made Sally and Finkelstein's relationship needlessly creepy. They got in an argument so heated that Burton kicked a hole in the wall, which was apparently later cut out and framed by the crew to memorialize forever. There's something of a controversy over, and we're probably going to talk about this, Eric, because you mentioned it before the show, and I'd love to dive into it. A controversy over exactly who has the rights to call this story and movie their own. Henry Selick, as the director, spent more time on set and production than Tim. However, Burton claimed he is the owner of the story as well as it was all his idea. He wrote the original poem and a lot of the script, created the characters, and served as a producer. but he was too busy to direct because he was doing Batman Returns. 2 items were invented to facilitate the filming: a light alarm, which would warn the animators if any stage lights failed to come on, and a system that enabled a puppeteer to seamlessly switch to a replacement puppet if a puppet broke during a shot. Prior to this, either situation would completely destroy a shot. They couldn't go forward with it. It has 2 firsts. It's the first stop motion animated film to ever be rated PG, and it's the first fully animated Disney film to not be traditionally animated. There are 4 shots that are filmed at a normal speed of 24 frames per second. The opening overhead shot of the trees in the forest, the fog coming out of the fountain, the liquid pouring through the holes of Sally's spoon, and the bugs falling into the molten pit in Oogie Boogie's lair. And then my final fact, number 10, is I love these ones, little details like this. We know for a fact from science that this movie could have only taken place in 5 possible years, 5 possible Christmas Eves, because Jack rides across the sky under a Christmas Eve full moon. And between the end of World War II and the end of 1993, which was the film's release, there was only 5 Christmas Eve full moons. So this movie either takes place in 1950, 1958, 1969, 1977, or 1988. And those are my facts.
Good facts.
Thank you. If anyone has any others, please jump in before we move on.
So in addition, so I watched the making of this movie to kind of prep for this on Saturday night. And in addition to those things that you mentioned about them inventing so that they could make sure that they were mapping everything correctly and lighting it appropriately, they had to make it so that the animators could get to the clay dolls with 1.5 feet between every single doll. And so they were able to make it so that the whole set broke away, and there is not a single point in the entire set that they built that is not 1.5 feet away from an edge that someone could come in and move the doll. And just like they basically took the sets apart so that they could go in and move it and then put them all back right where they were. So it was one of the largest, it was probably the largest approach of doing stop motion at the time, until like Leica Studios came around down the line, which is very much inspired by it. Jack Skellington also had about 300 different looks that they could give him, which included creating blinking eyes. So because they were doing 12 to 24 shots for every second, they had to build in each of the blinking eyes with the tiny pieces of it. And so there are like just a dozen different, like, quarter lid, half lid, 3/4 lid to give it that like full blinking thing. He's the only character that has that blinking quality, which Leica Studios would then go on to do for every character. But yeah, huge production, beautifully put together piece of film.
Yeah. I say again, stop motion animation is insane. Like, full stop. It is so cool.
There are 100,010, or sorry, I can't remember numbers. 110,000 frames went into making that movie.
Wow.
Yeah, awesome. I was thinking about that too, because just the simple motion of getting up and down all those times, it'd be one thing. It would still be hardcore if they were sitting there moving it piece by piece, and then you could just be like this, Okay, move it again. Okay, move it around. Okay. But you don't do that. You like run across the room, like put a set back together. Okay, I think we got it. Okay, pull the set back apart. Go back in. Move it a little bit. Back
Run
out.
across.
And that would just be. I cannot imagine how strenuous making a stop motion film is, and then to see it come out in such a visually appealing way like this movie, it's a lot of fun.
What's the one that recently came out that got such critical acclaim? The something monster. It's
Kubo
like
and the Sixth String, or Monster Squad, Monster House.
No. I'll find it. It's like it was a Russian film, I think, and it was like really long, and everyone was kind of. It was like one guy made it.
Oh
for,
wow!
like, his whole
Sweet
life.
Jesus.
He like started when he was like 15 and he just made it. Like his whole life has been dedicated to this movie. But
That's
anyway,
wild.
I'll find it some point in the episodes and maybe on the break I'll bring it up again. Jeremy, did you have any extra facts?
Not even one.
Okay.
Unless it counts that at one point somebody calls Jack Bone Daddy, and I feel like
That's true.
we don't really talk about that enough.
No,
as a society.
Slip that right into a PG movie, Bone Daddy.
That needs to be a T-shirt somehow. You know,
I'm sure it is somewhere.
Sure. Yeah, Bone Daddy has to be a T-shirt. If it's not, we are gonna make it a T-shirt. How did this movie do at the box office?
Oh yes. While I looked that up, because I definitely had that already pulled up.
You do, because you're prepared.
I'm
so prepared.
Because we're definitely not professionals.
Absolutely.
There's a book that I'll recommend that is related to this movie and every Tim Burton film that my wife just finished, and she kind of gave me the summary, and I read a couple chapters, and I want to finish it because it's insane and a really interesting book. It's called Everything is Tuberculosis. by I think by Hank Green. And like he goes into like he basically he found one thing that was related to tuberculosis and like went to be like, oh, that's crazy that this is related to tuberculosis. And then he just went on this insane like spiral deep dive of like literally how many things are related to tuberculosis. And one of them is the Tim Burton look, the like narrow jaw, like thin, pale skin characters, like all of that got really super popular around the time tuberculosis was hitting America so bad because some celebrities got it. So it became this like look that was actually sought after. And it's a crazy story. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. Everything is Tuberculosis.
The Doc Holliday.
Yeah. I think it is. I think it's Hank Green. It's one.
It does sound like a Hank Green,
or it might be
more
John,
like a Hank Green than a John Green.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna just feel that I'm almost there.
You got this, buddy.
I bet you're doing great.
Yeah, I am doing terrible. I'm doing absolutely terrible. But before my slow internet loads this website, I do.
Eric. Eric, do you want to tell us what you really thought about The Nightmare Before Christmas? And then we'll come back to Travis with his data.
Honestly, it's very close to what I was kind of saying in the debate. I do think that the production design of that movie is unrivaled. Danny Elfman's music is fantastic. I think it's peak Danny Elfman. It is the closest to his scores that feels like Oingo Boingo. And I mean, other than Forbidden Planet, I guess. But it's just fantastic music, and the amount of artistry that they did. Like going in and watching the making of, you can tell how passionate every single person who worked on that film is. And you can see that in every shot of the movie. That being said, I don't think that there's much of a story there. And I don't have the same nostalgia that a lot of people do because I didn't watch Nightmare Before Christmas until I was late in high school. And so there's not like that, oh, I remember watching this as a kid kind of feel. Like I had it introduced to me by theater kids that were like, this is the best thing ever. And I watched it and I was like, it's okay. and I have a better appreciation for it now that I like understand the artistry behind it. But for me, the number one thing that I look for in a film is character and plot, and this movie just really doesn't have much of either.
Yeah, I mean, I'll toss in mine too here since it relates very directly to that. But I pretty much agree with you wholeheartedly, except for I didn't watch it until yesterday. I've literally never seen it. I think when it was around for me, maybe it was a little too young for me. And I still knew a bunch of people who were watching it. And then I think I kind of refused because I got sick of hearing about it. Which is, the same thing that has prevented me to this day from watching Frozen. I'm still hanging in there. But, I think it was a pretty similar situation. And watching it yesterday, I was able to enjoy it because I wanted to think about it from this perspective, knowing it's not really for me. I was going into that.
Big thing.
Right. And I was like, I've seen pieces of this, so I know what I'm in for here. I know that I am not this movie's target audience. I would be if I had nostalgia, because then it would still totally work for me. In the same way that Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island does, although that movie might slap substantially harder than
that
this.
Movie slaps.
It is still made more for me than this movie. This movie's, I would argue that it's way more of a Christmas movie, just with a little bit of Halloween dressing. But like the premise of it, the execution, the way the story is told is very whimsical and safe feeling. It doesn't feel scary at any point. So there's not really horror there as a story to me. A little bit from our big bad ghost at the end and everything, but I don't know. He's just like that guy waiting in the wings to try to take the throne. Pretty typical character. Still didn't strike me as like genuinely horror at any point, even for like a little kid, because I don't think that's the tone. And horror pretty much actually scaring people comes from the tone. Yeah. So it felt mostly just like Christmas to me with some Halloween dressing. However, the characters are awesome. I totally understand why the merchandise for this movie is still everywhere. Why people get tattoos. The creature design, the character design was fantastic. I love all the stop motion action. I'm a huge fan of stop motion as well. The music was beautiful. So I had to just watch this as like, this is a play for kids. And when I chose to do that, I enjoyed it much more than I would have if I was watching it like, all right, what do I think of this movie? That's what I would have done if I had to debate it, but I didn't. So I sort of had the luxury today of just watching it with that intentionality. So I enjoyed it more than I would have if I didn't really try to, kind of. And because I did that, I did find that I genuinely liked it. Though, if it were like me just watching a movie, I'm not going to watch it again, Yeah.
Yeah. There's a line in Blink-182's I Miss You that says we can live like Jack and Sally if we want to. Right. I did not make the connection until like 6 months ago that it was referencing Nightmare Before Christmas. That is how we're from Nightmare Before Christmas.
We'll have Halloween on Christmas.
They even say we'll have Halloween on Christmas.
They do, and it's just missed it entirely.
Yeah. You know what? I did too. I tell just now. I completely missed it. Yeah.
Listen, Eric, don't waste your time on me. You're already the voice inside my head.
That is quite enough Blink-182. Can we talk about numbers that I hate less vehemently? Like this
you hate
box?
Blink? Man,
of course I do.
Blink.
Come on.
It's my first album.
Why do you hate
my
fun?
First CD.
I don't hate fun. I hate Blink-182's whiny-ass voice. Don't even get me started. I hate that song in particular because I've heard it 10 million times. And it still sucks as many balls as it ever has. Travis, numbers that don't suck as many balls as that. Box office numbers for this movie, I imagine.
It was a decent, it wasn't a huge success, but it was a decent, they call a sleeper hit. I think its budget was around 26. From what I can find, it's not on the numbers as clearly, but there's some stuff that I found that I think it's around 26 million. Originally, it was only supposed to be like 15, but that was another fun fact I kicked out because it didn't make the top 10 list. But they originally had the budget at like 15 to 18 mil, which was nothing for this type of project. And so everyone on the project was like, okay, we got to think of what scenes to cut. And while they were doing that, I think it was one of the writers like took what hit the cutting room floor to the Disney studios and like got a meeting and showed it to them. And after that meeting, they gave him another like 12 mil to play with because they thought it was so good. And it made in its initial release like 55, so doubled. And then it's made over the years upon re-releases and a couple other things up to 95 mil. So it was a success over time. And I think streaming numbers would show that it's a smashing success and maybe like a cult hit, some would say.
Yeah.
This is the weirdest. We're all in agreement here. We'll see if Jeremy's the outlier.
He might be. He's a wild card.
I'm 100%
Wild
with
card, baby.
You and Eric. As soon as you started your rebuttal with like, yeah, that's all it has, I was like, kind of, I agree with you, but I'm gonna force some plot stuff out of here, drag it out of there.
You did too.
Because
You really drug it.
You did.
I really do think it's a really simple story. I don't disagree with what I said about that. Kind of helps it in some ways because, like Clayton said, it's made for a young audience, and simplicity can oftentimes be really good to just draw people into beauty. I'm not saying every children's thing needs to be simple, and we'll talk about that after the break because I have a question specifically about media for younger audiences. But I do think if you're trying to you almost have to like pick your focus when it comes to like younger audience media of like, do I want them to, for the first time, see something as beautiful as this stop motion and hear these psalms, or do I want them to see this like character development and plot? And I think they picked a road, and I would say it was the right road because I think there's a reason this has such nostalgia with it. And it's because if I had watched this, like my brother, not yesterday, which I watched it yesterday, but if I had watched this as like a teenager or as a even like higher elementary school, it would have stuck with me of just like, I don't think I would have ever seen anything like it. And I still haven't. It's a gorgeous film. I think another problem that comes with me watching it later in life is I've now watched, like Isle of Dogs and Fantastic Mr. Fox, which are both also gorgeous, but to Eric's point, have like really good stories, really good characters. They're a little more adult. They're PG-13. I think Isle of Dogs is R. And even like on the PG level, like the Wallace and Gromit movies are awesome. They have a little more depth to them with that beauty still being present. But this one, even with all those still existing, this does also capture the two holidays that it's like playing off of. And so there really isn't anything like this movie. And that's something a lot of films can't say. But if you're trying to do like comps for Nightmare Before Christmas, they're all movies that are made by the same people. It's like, what's this movie like? Yeah. Oh, it's like Coraline. It's like, oh, well, that's just this movie, but later. So I think that goes to its success and to something I really appreciate about it. But from a personal standpoint, I was like, yeah, this is beautiful, but it's, I'm not super involved in the story. I could take it or leave it. And like Clay, I probably won't watch it again, but I appreciate it for what it is.
Now, I can tell Jeremy loves the plot of this movie.
Now.
Oh, yeah, you know it. Jeremy's all about it, dude. Do we even need to do your take, Jeremy, for you to just glaze this thing? Or like, what do you want to do here?
Hey, look, I'll share some things. Hey, everybody. Hi, America. So let's start with the positives. The animation is stunning.
Yes.
Moving on. So this movie is maybe going to be my go-to example from now on of like aesthetic and whimsy taking precedent over absolutely everything else.
True.
Because it sticks to its vibe and visual aesthetic, and hey, great, good. But where I run into trouble, well, there are several places I run into trouble with this movie. The first place is that literally everything that piqued my interest and curiosity while watching this movie, which I watched, Sunday. So that's great. But everything that interested me while watching this movie was ignored. Like how Halloween Town and Christmas Town are just physical locations in the normal world. It's just
in a forest.
You can just fly there. They're in. Yeah. Well, they're not both in the forest.
The doors to them are.
Okay, that's another thing. There is some kind of elaborate global fast travel system.
Yeah.
That there's the doors in the forest that will take Jack to the friggin' North Pole, but Jack can also jump into a tomb and he's back in Halloween Town.
Well,
that's not
it's a teleportation tomb.
Can I real quick ask something, Jeremy? Because I'm
Yes.
I'm just curious if you had this thought too. You might not have. Have you read the whole Narnia series?
No.
Oh, I was maybe I'm totally wrong, but it felt to me like Tim Burton was inspired by The Magician's Nephew with the in between place and the trees that I was huh. And maybe
I would
it's
not be
because
surprised.
Yeah, because it's fresh on my mind. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but the trees, I was like, what is going on here, and why does it remind me so much of The Magician's Nephew?
He's got a thing with his trees too. He's very specific about his trees.
Yeah,
they even built fake trees for the town in Big Fish.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to deal with real trees. He was like, no, they will be perfect.
We can do better.
That's what Tim Burton talks like. I don't know if you guys have ever seen an interview. But.
Yeah. Let's see. More things that the movie didn't feel like showing me. What the fuck is Halloween in this world? What are they even? What are they doing? Because Halloween here is fun, fine, or whatever, but it's mostly just a mundane thing. But Jack just shows up with a pumpkin on his head, breathing fire, riding a horse. I'm like, what did you just do?
They go hard in 1988, man.
They go hard. They go hard in maybe 1988.
We've identified the year. That's the year they went that hard.
Also, the world knows about Santa and magic, but they don't know who Jack is. What's that about? What would have happened if Jack wandered into Thanksgiving Town? Would have been different. I don't know. And then to that point, what is even going on behind the Thanksgiving and St. Patrick's Day doors? There's no worldwide delivery that has to happen with the Christmas and Easter doors. So what are they?
Yeah, is there an R-rated Jack Skellington St. Patty's movie where he just gets absolutely shit-faced with some Irish people?
God,
I'd watch that movie.
He comes to Butte, Montana, and just throws a rager.
Sure,
exactly. But I think ultimately, my main takeaway from this movie is that it is 1 hour and 15 minutes, and it feels so much longer because every song feels like it's goddamn 20 minutes long, and I don't like them. And
all right.
Yeah.
Damn.
So you were the dissenting opinion, but it was not in the way that we predicted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, I keep it real and I keep it frank. And
you usually like whimsy.
I know.
Yeah.
I like whimsy when it's
intentional whimsy.
No, I like whimsy that makes sense or even has consequences. You can be whimsical,
sure,
and
I agree.
All
with
the
that,
things happen to you that go with the whimsy.
Yeah,
You know, one thing that this movie, like, really, I wish I would have seen it earlier before I joined theater in college, because all of the like relationship dynamics and like attractions of like people make so much more sense in a lot of ways. Maybe not all. That's a broad brush statement, but like I'm looking back on like some of the girls I had crushes on, and they're like looking at someone else, and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy looked like Jax. He was thin and like really tall and wiry boy.
He had the tuberculosis.
The other way, like
tuberculosis.
the Sallys were the like people in the theater that were getting the attention. I'm like, oh, there it is.
See, I thought Sally's were just the people just listening to Taylor Swift songs on repeat, like, if you could see that I'm the one who understands you. Like,
I love that we got both early Taylor Swift and Blink 182 in the first hour of this episode.
Don't worry.
We're really trying to go with a time capsule.
Yeah, this is the
we're sending this to the
angstiest fermented fiction we've ever had.
Actually,
hey guys, support your local hot topic.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I would like to say, you know, like, AI, you can have this one. This, you know, don't use it for training. You use it as a time capsule just to know what fermented fiction's about.
Yep.
And that's why I'm gonna throw in this little nugget for you too. Fuck you. I don't like you, AI.
Hour
Stay away.
two, we're gonna reference Good Charlotte.
Yes.
Don't tempt me.
Fall
Gonna
Out
come
Boy,
in with the
for
anthem
sure.
playing behind me.
Yeah.
Please do.
Please do. Please do.
Please
It
do.
is the anthem. Throw all your hands up. Anyway, maybe it's time for an angsty break, Clay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
today.
this 5-minute break video has a fair amount of angst and other hilarities within. A little preview of some past episodes. If you want to go check them out, they're all on YouTube or on our Patreon, which you should also go check out. We'll see you on the other side. We're going to be gone for about 5 minutes. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.
We'll be right back.
Hello, fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the first of our new season, and I believe it's season 4. The show where we drink beer and argue with each other and bring on really awesome creative guests.
If you'll permit me to go a little bit outside the box. Once upon a time, apparently, people used to sniff mummy remains, powdered mummy remains, like cocaine. So I think 3 lines of powdered mummy remains, if you can get to that as well. Yeah, that'll get you right to really enjoy the movie, you know?
Dave told us all about making a mead, and I talk shit about Tom Bombadil, as I am wont to do whenever people bring up Lord of the Rings.
You would. You should.
And then that's
Everybody
exactly what he
freaking
made.
chill about Tom Bombadil, or I'll get unreasonably upset.
So, for like assessment, what did you think of the, like, everyone kind of paired off, or at least a number of people did, like romantically. How'd you feel about that? Did that seem really forced and dumb to you, or?
Tom Bombadil is a merry old fellow with his bright blue jacket and his boots are yellow. Right?
It's our yellow.
Right.
Imagine like discovering mummy remains and like, oh my god, these ancient figures. Dude, what if we crushed this and snorted it, yo? I bet we'd get fucked up.
Let's talk for a moment about the all-star cast in this movie. We have Ewan McGregor slaughtering it the entire time, character energy top to bottom. You can't argue with it. Women want him, men want him. Everybody wants Ewan McGregor. Okay? If you don't agree with that, you're lying to yourself.
Apparently she had a backstory, but they cut it because she's like very like hard-nosed at the beginning. And then like, I will say another pro of this movie is like their chemistry is hot. And like, I feel like if they didn't have that chemistry, I would have been like, ugh. Because she says at one point, she's like, oh, it's the apocalypse. What are we going to do? Like, fuck. And he's like, and then later when they like are like kissing, if they didn't have chemistry and if it was like 2 lesser actors, I think it would have been like an eye roll, like felt cheesy, but like you feel their Bond.
The Langoliers themselves were originally going to be portrayed by puppets. And I think maybe they should have. Maybe they should have.
Dude, that's amazing.
There's no maybe about that.
And I wish that I could say that there was greater happening here than the war diary of a broken man living as sort of this White Tower academic with all of his friends sitting inside the Eagle and Child drinking beer and pretending like, Magic Lion Jesus isn't really silly. Because, I mean, it is. If we can just all be very honest with each other.
The Lord's work out there. Good job.
I like to think that I am. Most people aren't big enough, but I am. I'm willing to step up,
Yeah. Dedicate that time.
settle
You're
twice.
willing to dedicate that time.
The time, the money, all of it.
That was so painful. It's one of those painful things.
Oh, that
I've
was
done in my
so
life.
good. That was so good. We've never been so savagely attacked by any author on their show. It's incredible.
We back. I changed shirts because it was getting a little hot in this room. I also threw on my Philadelphia hat for Clayton's sake. Just going to rep my team as well. Another for any sports fan watchers. There's a cool thing. I don't know if you know this, Clay. I don't know if they're talking about this small side of the football world in your sports talk shows, but Montana and Montana this year are in the semifinals of the national tournament, which is the first time I think in history we've had the Cat Grizz Part 2 in a single year, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's hard to do for a Montana team.
Mm-hmm. And on the other side is Villanova. So I'm like, I love it, whoever wins. But anyway, I have some questions that are not about sports, but about the media we've been talking about. And I kind of want to start with, I hope, what is a fun one. And we'll start with you, Eric. Tim Burton has a vibe, and he owns that vibe, and he created that vibe. And I just want to know, on the spot, if y'all can think of, like the whole panel, think of some of your favorite creators, books, movies, whatever, who like made their own vibe that is now just like the comp has become him. Like, I think that's an achievement in itself. I don't even love Tim Burton. I like some of his movies that are undeniably good, but he's never been my thing. But it's undeniable that you'll see a movie that has his type of thing and you're like, oh, that's a Tim Burton-y movie. And like, just to make your own vibe is such an achievement. So I'm like wondering, who are some of your favorite creators who have done that you can do comps now for like this guy or gal, or who is like, they have their own thing. They've carved out their space.
Yeah, I'll do you one better, and someone who a word was created for their style, which is David Lynch. I'm a huge David Lynch fan, but a Lynchian film is something that anyone in the film world understands the vibe that you're talking about. And his movies do, like, when you're watching a David Lynch movie, even when you're talking about watching that one he did with Disney, the whole story, I think. It feels like a David Lynch movie. His TV shows all feel like David Lynch pieces. And I think he has a lot of that same kind of like in common with Tim Burton, only, there's actual depth behind its creation.
Can I a question off of that? Cause I think you're right that there's more depth to the Lynchian thing, but what do you think cause every good director or writer is going to have their, like, I'm thinking even of Paul Thomas Anderson. I would say, like, I can tell when I'm watching a Paul Thomas Anderson project, but I wouldn't say Paul Thomas Anderson has like created this whole, like his own word or his own style. Even if he has, it hasn't become part of the zeitgeist. So I'm wondering, like, what do you think it is that Lynch and Burton and others did that elevated them beyond just like stylistically, you can tell what their movies are, to like everyone who even comes within the sphere of that is going to be lumped in with the Lynchian thing?
I think it's the kind of one, the specificity of it. David Lynch is incredibly specific. Tim Burton is incredibly specific. Wes Anderson, another good example of someone who the way that they have the style is, it's beyond just like having this an element of style, like visual style, which a lot of people, when they think of like Paul Thomas Anderson, has a visual style, but their style encompasses the writing, the way people are acting in it. Like you can see I'm trying to think of a great example. Naomi Watts in a David Lynch movie is entirely different from Naomi Watts acting in any other movie that she has been in. The words that the characters are speaking are also very specific. Even the effects become very specific. Like David Lynch's work is very, it almost looks like clip art sometimes, but it fits with the general vibe that he's creating and that kind of dreamlike quality. Tim Burton has those really bright, like very dark for most of it, but has very bright splashes of color. Normally it's blood in a lot of his pieces. Or Wes Anderson has that very stoic delivery that all of his actors have. So I think it's less about having like a specific piece of it that has been stylized, and that style really emerges in every single aspect of the creation process, from the people who are creating music behind the scenes to the lighting to the way that the actors are approaching it. And of course every director is thinking about these things, but they aren't thinking about them to the same level that some of these other directors are, and they're not also having that same cohesion from movie to movie in all of those regards as well. So to me, I think that's kind of what sticks out as making them a little bit more than just a normal style. Guillermo del Toro, another great example of someone who like has that level of intention behind everything he does, and that even includes like comic books that he's written. It feels like a Guillermo del Toro comic book.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Play.
I guess my example would be like McDonough, we were talking about on a previous episode recently. But I definitely always know when I'm watching a McDonough film, because I feel like his style is like to use the same level of imaginative flamboyance as a Lynchian film, but to center it just entirely on the characters and put them in like cringingly boring circumstances and just seeing if you'll stay. And if you do, like, I think you always get a really good payoff. But like that is usually like those characters are just like bummed out and like going through some shit and put in these weird circumstances with like high tension, personality based tension. But I think that's like the vibe. And I think it's been cultivated by his films just through how memorable and impactful they are, because they are so character focused. And I think a lot of the times when films go over the top, narratively speaking, there's a lot of elements that can come into play in film for that. But when you choose to just do it entirely through your characters, that's a really unique way to approach a story. And I'm always a fan of stories that do that. Lots of stories do that, but McDonough's the first that comes to mind for me.
His plays are fantastic, and you can see the elements of theater that he brought into the filmography. Have you ever seen The Guard, which is his brother? And it's funny because his style has morphed into his brother to a point where it makes me be like, all right, what was their home life like?
Yeah. And I mean, it's cool that you bring that up, because I think there are a few things I love better than a story that knows it's a story but still convinces you that you're a part of it. Like these good stage playwriters that become screenwriters and bring those theatrical elements in but make it feel natural. Like, again, like the McDonough's movies are ridiculous. Like the premises are absurd. And like Banshees of Inisherin is like the most like boring, like this is every person going through like a midlife crisis, losing all their friends kind of story. And then he just starts hacking off pieces of his body, and you're like, whoa, you know? So like, I really love bringing that theatrical stuff into the film world in an effective way, rather than a way that's like trying to be a play on film. You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Well-
usually that much of a fan of that, but
I love how McDonough uses comedy like a fishing lure. Like his like comedic parts of his movies are like him casting out bait, and you take it every time because of the absurdity.
not
And you're like,
everybody takes it though.
well, I take it every time.
I
I'm
take
just
it
like,
every time.
oh, I'm eating that up, and he's like pulling you in, and when you get to the end of the line, it's like, oh, I'm depressed.
You're in the live well.
I forgot
At
that
the
this
end.
was a real sad. Like in Bruges, the moment that'll always stick in my mind from watching In Bruges was they're on the bench, and they're like talking about like the whole situation and what's going on, and I think Colin Farrell's like talking about the lady that hit him, tried to hit him with a bottle, and he's like, why did you try and assault this woman? She came at me with a ball. And then like you're like laughing with this conversation that's so stupid, and like, yeah, well, you know, he shouldn't have punched the lady. And then he just all of a sudden is like, I killed the little boy. And you're like, oh crap. Like I forgot that's why you're here. And yeah, then we get a flashback, and now I'm sad. Like that, such a good style. So I agree with you, Clay. Sorry.
That's because he's Irish.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Jeremy.
The Irish
yeah.
understand dramatic irony, if nothing
They
else.
sure do. Now, don't they? But I think you know, my pick for this kind of creator is going to be Douglas Adams, to the surprise of probably nobody. But like,
First time
it's-
viewers of the show, this may come as a surprise. You'll find ample
First time-
evidence in our archives.
Yes. Despite this book sitting right here, it is a surprise to you first-time viewers. But anyway, no, it's he's one of those creators, and I think the other, like the directors and stuff you guys have mentioned, do this as well, where like every creator has like a style, but there's that certain type of creator that basically becomes their own subgenre, where you can't really describe what they do without using their name or somebody like kind of already knowing what it is. And it's something that makes it hard to like follow up or try to mimic. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever tried to read And Another Thing, which is Eowyn Colfer's sequel to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. But don't. It's yeah, just don't. It's bad.
I've heard the same about the Dune sequels that aren't Frank Herbert. I don't know if that's
Nice.
I don't know if it's true. I haven't read any of Frank Herbert's son's books, but I've heard that it's like a poor attempt at imitating Frank Herbert's style. But yeah, mine is too far away.
Fantastic.
Oh wait, no, it's not. I got it.
I knew we were gonna be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's,
we all got.
that's a newer one. That's nice.
Jeremy, did you have more? I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you today. I'm so sorry.
We do
that
interrupt
is-
Jeremy a lot.
Yeah. Just today, though. But no, I
Just
think
today.
that was basically it. Because, like, well, I guess also it especially in the case of like authors who do this, it makes their works incredibly difficult to adapt. Which, if you've seen any of the adaptations of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you're like, yeah, that was. I'm surprised you tried.
What's funny is he wrote half of them, and like,
Yeah, I
he
know.
goes off. He's like, you know what? I decided this Thursday that I was writing it, I wanted this story to go in an entirely different direction than
yeah.
I did originally.
The ultimate
That's
like
your boy
pantsing
right there.
experience.
Yeah.
Jeremy, Travis also asked like if you could identify in any way what defines that style. And I would like to know, because you said something interesting in your debate, which is that whimsy was okay as long as it had consequences. I think that was a really good point. Would you say that's something that you notice in Adam's style? And what else do you think about that style specifically?
Absolutely. Because like with that style, it's like there is definitely whimsy, and there are just wild out there, but like totally expected consequences once you get like familiarized with the world. It's like things. It's the universe is insane. It's an insane person, that universe, and that's it. It's a very special kind of absurdism that that those stories and stuff like, well, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency and stuff like that get to live in, where like, I don't know, there is this big, larger than you can really deal with kind of universe, but people just kind of focus in on their own shit because trying to grapple with the entire universe just it's a fool's errand. And I think that is probably the defining characteristic of Douglas Adams's style, coming probably to a head in was it the Restaurant at the End of the Universe, with the total perspective vortex, kind of really hammering that home. Yeah.
I think it's like your madness is relative to your knowledge of the universe. The more knowledge you have, the more you're I don't give a fuck about anything. Like
he kind of like expanded. I feel like it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect, or where it's like the more you know, the less you're like stable, and then you're just like, kind of like the more you know, the less you know. But
is Douglas Adams just the anti-Lovecraft? Because Lovecraft said, this big thing happens and you go mad, and Douglas Adams, I guess, is also saying you go mad, but in a completely different way.
Yeah, you go mad, but that's fine.
Yeah,
he's like, you can't control that. Do you have to? Or can you just like leave? Because like maybe some people just choose to not acknowledge that they saw that ethereal being and move on.
Yep.
With their lives. That is the advisable move.
Yep.
Travis, do you have another question for us?
Well, after I give my guy is Wes Anderson's been mentioned. You talked about McDonough. I think those are both great. I was originally going to say Tarantino, but then I thought older, and I would say Sergio Leone. I love spaghetti westerns, and he carved his space out. And I've recently been watching the Man with No Name trilogy, which, fun fact, he has a name in the first movie and the second movie.
It's only the third one he doesn't.
In the third one, they just leaned into it. But it is funny because like those movies actually weren't a trilogy, but the style was so similar, and it was Clint Eastwood in all three, that after they were all made, Sergio was just like, yeah, sure, they're all the same guy. Why not? And like now we know them as the Man with No Name trilogy. And they're
Man with a Small Number of Names trilogy.
Yeah.
Man with minimal names.
Man with minimal names.
Not
minimal
very many
monikers.
And no monikers. They're excellent. Like people, I don't know. I've talked in the past to people who talk about Leone as if he's like jokingly good. Like, oh yeah, everyone knows spaghetti westerns are corny and dumb. And I'm like, I don't see that. Like these movies are gorgeous. They're old, like parts of them are corny. Some of the acting is stilted because it's an old Western, but they're good stories. Like they're well plotted, and the like vibe of it is very, very iconic and amazing. And we would not have Tarantino's movies without Sergio Leone. Like that is he's admitted it. He's a spaghetti Western, like that made him. And you see it in all of his movies, Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, Hateful Eight. Even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like a spaghetti Western kind of about just regular people working in Hollywood at the time. So I'm a big Leone fan. I'm going to keep watching his movies. I haven't yet watched Once Upon a Time in the West, and I'm sad about that, but I will. yeah, that'd be my guy. And then I have a question, but Eric, you looked like you had something to jump in there.
I was just gonna say that I think that you're like the people that say that spaghetti westerns are bad, etc. That's almost anything that's really stylized that then moves away from the style and the cultural zeitgeist. So you have giallo in the horror genre, like it's super stylized. All these people were doing something with like a very clear, similar intention. And now if you look at it, you're like, okay, this is a little corny, like the blood spurting out, the black gloves, but it's because it was so iconic in the time, and then it gets memed or parodied so much after the fact that then everyone starts being like, oh yeah, it's cool to hate that. But it just shows that there was cohesion to it originally.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I've heard most too is from, and I'm gonna stop myself from ranting too much because I hear it from like legitimate, honest to God cowboys who see those as like too removed from reality, because again, they were made by an Italian guy that probably had never been, well, he probably had now, but like when he started making them had maybe never been to an American like ranching town. And so he was like doing this story that he imagined it was like. And so I've seen that of like this realism debate of like, well, no, that's not what it was like. It's like, who cares? It's like a cool flavor and it's fun. And yes, here's my little rant. John Wayne might be a little more realistic, but he's not even close to as good of an actor like as Clint Eastwood. And I don't think most his movies are even close to as good as Clint Eastwood's spaghetti westerns or Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns. Like John Wayne movies, there's a couple really, really bright gems, but for the most part, I'm not a big fan of his filmography. But I think people like it because it's like more accurate, whatever that means, but that rant aside, I want to jump off something you said, Eric. And I didn't have this question planned originally, but it popped in my brain. Adaptation, because you're talking about kind of Douglas Adams was actually involved with a lot of the adaptations of his work, but they're really different from his books because he went off the rails. I've had many arguments with people in my profession about the Pride and Prejudice adaptations, which one's best, the BBC miniseries or the 2000s movie. I stand with the 2000s movie. And the reason I do, and this is where the question is going to come from, is I don't care that it's less accurate to the actual details of the story. It makes me feel the same way as when I was reading the book. And so I wonder what you think, Eric, and then the whole panel of like, what are some of your favorite adaptations? Do you disagree with my assessment, not on Pride and Prejudice, but on like, if it captures the feeling, it's better than if it gets every minute detail right? And where do you fall on that debate of like page to screen and how exactly it has to be?
So I think that you're kind of the answer to your question is yes, I agree with you. Adaptation, every medium is very different in how we interact with it as an audience. If I'm reading a book, I'm getting something entirely different from watching a movie, and you can't get all of those kind of like behind the brain details that you get in a book in a movie form. And so you kind of have to approach it in a different way. So I'm much more of a getting the vibe right than getting all of the specific words and all the details, because it's not going to be the same experience. And if I'm trying to make it the same experience, it's just going to show that it's not fitting the same way. I have not seen either of the Pride and Prejudice adaptations, nor have I read the book, so I'm not necessarily going to go with that one. But I think one great example in the horror genre that I'm really familiar with is The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing isn't necessarily a beat for beat remake of the book, but the way that it captures the atmosphere makes it very much its own thing, and that's what connects so many people to that movie, as opposed to us remembering the book for what it was. And then on top of that, Just one other thing that's a little tangential to it. I think each adaptation is going to be much more related and associated to the time that it came out than to the source material. If we adapt the same thing, look at Nosferatu in the 20s, the 70s, and then now, those movies are much more reflective of the movies happening around it and the world that's happening around it than really where it's based on the source material. And so having that kind of come in and seeing where those differences are is where we actually get really interesting and cool art, where we're actually learning something about, if we watch the 79 one adaptation of Nosferatu, we're getting a little like snippet of 1979 as opposed to the original text.
No, I really like that point. That's certainly true. Like Nosferatu is a perfect example of what you were just talking about. Good call out there, because so reflective of the time it was made, what was made around it, what it was competing with, and what it was emulating. It's really fascinating. You're asking for. So, can you say the question one more time to me?
Yeah, if I can remember it. In general, kind of just like, do you think adaptations are better when they're exactly to the page, or when they're more of like, it makes me feel the same when I read the story as when I watch it on screen? And then I had another question in there that I kind of forgot already, but that one's a big one, so take it.
Yeah, that's plenty to answer anyway. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it has to be. I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think it's the most boring answer ever, but it just depends on the story. I mean, again, like this story, Nightmare Before Christmas, you can't really argue that it doesn't like do what it intends to do. So I think that like at some objective level, because it's well executed, it's well made, and it accomplishes its own goals and mission, reaches its target audience, how that's like kind of where you get into this is just a good film, no matter what way you slice it. So I think that's like a faithful adaptation of something that wants to be an on-stage musical into a film, which is hard to do and done badly a lot. And kind of like back to Eric's point about sometimes a remake reflects the times it was made. See the Romeo and Juliet where they have pistols for long swords, and it's essentially The Outsiders. And it's really too bad. But that's a great example of that, reflecting some time stuff. And it's one of those chaotic worlds you might find through the wrong portal in some of the universes we've talked about earlier tonight. So yeah, I don't think there's any one way to do it. I just think as long as if you accomplish your mission and reach your audience, and like you do it all with a lot of genuine intent and evident effort, like that's if something comes out that good, everybody worked their ass on it, everybody cared about it. I'm always going to like anything that accomplishes that through adaptation. And you can tell when it doesn't, or when someone's trying to take it in a totally different direction and sort of disregarding the source material altogether. That's a move. People do that intentionally. Some people do that really well, and I think to do that, you have to honor the source material's intention as well. And what you took out of it, at least, like whatever part of it influenced you enough as a creator to create it again, like that better show in the work. And that all comes from everything else I blabbered about before. What do you think, Jeremy?
Well, adaptation is this weird, unique thing where, like, even though you're telling a story that has been told before, like, the source material cannot be held up as, like, totally sacred, because just from the nature of what works, we're talking about movies on film versus on the page, because things have to change for a book to work on screen, because you can't just take the book and be like, that's my screenplay. It's going to be terrible and boring and slow and it's yeah. So like capturing the spirit with, I don't think there's really any guide on how to do it other than like, actually no, I don't think there's any guide on really how to do it. You just have to be really familiar with both of the things you have. That's why I think one of the best adaptations out there, and I'm going to avoid my traditional, like, really inflammatory sort of example, which is Lord of the Rings, and go with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Which is I think, a fantastic adaptation of the Odyssey, while also being really very far removed from the Odyssey. And it's just incredible.
That's what they were trying to do with the long swords version of Romeo and Juliet.
I don't know. It was.
Well, you think they were intentionally being as bad as they were?
I don't think they thought they were being bad. It's Baz
I thought they
Luhrmann.
were.
He
They
was
probably
being
thought they
loud.
were being clever.
Like
That's
if you
Baz
watch,
Luhrmann.
if you watch that
Being
movie
clever, but
with
loud.
the rest of Baz Luhrmann's filmography, it makes so much sense. It's like, oh yeah, this is how Baz Luhrmann would do this.
That's fair. We knew
I
what we
have a-
signed up for.
I have a lot of strong feelings about Baz, but
Yeah, Baz Luhrmann is actually another correct answer to your previous question.
Yep.
He is an entire
Yes.
genre unto himself.
That is very true. When I see Baz Luhrmann direct on the trailer, I'm like, okay, I'll skip it. But he has a very unique style. Yeah, I keep coming up with questions that I didn't write down because Eric, you keep bringing up really cool things. And Clayton, this time actually you pointed to it of like, I'd like to hear all y'all's thoughts about exactly what you said. It's done badly sometimes, theater to screen, and how that sort of like theater musical element, when it really works, why, and when it really doesn't, why, and maybe you'll have some hot takes in there because I know I have one amongst the theater geek community of a movie I absolutely adore that some people don't, but I'm gonna make you wait. Cliffhanger. Eric, you go first.
Can I also piggyback on that just a little bit? Because I think
sure.
people like Nightmare Before Christmas. Can you answer that question and then speak to a way that Nightmare Before Christmas does this as well? Translates theater to the screen.
I'm trying to think of one that I think does a really good job adapting to screen. And I'm having some trouble finding it. Okay, so this one isn't an actual stage play that then became a movie, but it really pulls from that motif really well, and that's Has Been Hotel. I'm not sure if anyone here has seen it, but it is all of the best things that musical theater is. It's catchy, but it focuses on big characters and has these really big set pieces. It's doing it in a way that would be difficult to do on stage because it's jumping back and forth between multiple different places. And it captures that feeling incredibly well. That makes me feel like I'm back in high school doing musical theater again, high school and college. I think part of it's difficult because I'm not a big musical theater person. I'm a theater kid, and I'm an audio person, but I prefer my straight plays versus my musicals because I think a lot of them have a lot of the same pitfalls, and a lot of them do fall into that kind of like, it just looks the glitz and glamour of it. But how Nightmare does it well, I think, is first of all, the lighting is beautiful. They lit it as if it were an actual movie set, and so you get shadows in a way that you don't normally get in stop motion. And I think that dedication to it does it really well. And then I think the other big thing about musical theater that Nightmare does really well is the whole idea of musical theater is that the emotions are too big to capture in just words and that you need to sing it. And there is not a single song, except for maybe the opening number, where it's just getting you into the world. But every one of the songs, it's like you have that brooding Jack on the mountain. You have Sally wistfully by these gravestones singing these songs. Every character, when they come up with their songs, is just oozing that emotion, and that's what makes musical theater so well, so good, is the idea that you can't just contain it by saying I love you. You need to sing this song because that is how great the emotion is. And even though I don't think that there's a lot of depth to the characters in Nightmare, I do think that they really fully embody that, and that's the strength that Danny Elfman really brought to the movie.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Jeremy?
I think I'm going to have to agree with that, especially for Nightmare Before Christmas. As much as I hate every single song, that movie uses its songs very well. If they were all just like 5 minutes shorter, it does give the impression of like you got somebody who knows how to write musicals and not just like someone who knows how to write music when you do something like that. And it's something that really shows. But as far as like Travis's initial question, I can't think of a single time that I've seen an adaptation of a stage play and been like, "Yep, this is good."
Yeah,
hasn't happened yet.
Man, none.
I mean, the
12
closest...
Angry Men.
12 Angry Men.
Still haven't watched it. Maybe.
I don't think Fences is bad. It's not great, but it's good. Like it's definitely not the play, but it's good. But that's a good take. Clay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually, unfortunately, kind of in that same camp. And there's also a high probability that plenty of the movies I've watched are based on stage plays, and I just don't know it. That's very, very possible, if not probable at this point. So I don't really have a great example. I've seen many of them adapted effectively to animation, though. And I do love an animated musical just as much as any other animated story. It's kind of like you and I have talked about with some fantasy stories. We would rather see an animation, than a live action by a mile. Like Dragon Ball Z, don't need to see the live action. It's fine.
You not trying to watch Dragon Ball Evolution right now?
That doesn't exist. That movie does not exist.
You're not trying to sit down and pop that in the old DVD player right this second?
Nope. Right. I would pop it into my fireplace. And that along with the live action Avatar, same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Both live action versions.
But I do think that musical theater and any kind of theater really can be really well adapted in a animated film because it allows you to do exactly what the play in live performances in a theater. You do that with your own mind. Animation kind of like shows you what it looks like in this director's mind. This is how they see the story. And I think that works really well for lots of adaptations. If it's the right person to tell the right story. And like I said earlier, and I think you kind of touched on too, Jeremy, it doesn't really matter how loyal you are to the source material as long as you're honest about how the source material influenced you. And you're putting that back out into the world with intentionality and thought and effort. So I think that's the key to it, really. I can't really think of another great example, but
I'm not thinking of adaptations, but I'm thinking of two very like intentional play movies. And Birdman, that takes Raymond Carver's What We Talk About When We Talk About Love and is like telling the story of a group of people trying to make that play, which is very interesting. And then my hot take, maybe, because I got a lot of flack for this when I was in theater. When La La Land and Greatest Showman came out around the same time, I hated The Greatest Showman, despised that movie. I loved La La Land. I thought it was a great story. Yes, the music isn't as good, but I love that movie. I think the plot and the characters work really well, and I was on board the whole time. But yeah, The Greatest Showman, I just didn't get the hype. It was so bad.
It's also whitewashing a horrible human being.
Yeah, like a
he's
horrible
an
man.
awful person.
And like it doesn't even make him look good, even after all the whitewashing.
Oh, yeah.
wow.
You can't wash it all off.
He's
It's
still
not
pretty much a
possible.
bastard.
Yeah, P.T.
It's-
Barnum, not a good dude.
It's like
I'll come
now
in
when
with
it's like now when I play Pokemon and I think about what I'm actually doing. That's sort of like the P.T. Barnum thing. Like you can show me the circus and make it look however you want me to feel, but like at the end of the day, it's still the circus. Like every
Yeah.
time I catch a Pokemon now, I'm like, what am I doing? This game's terrible.
My whole theater, though, my whole like theater crew was just all about it, and they were like, "Well, look at how they staged all the scenes." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's great." But to Eric's point of like the debate with Nightmare Before
Yeah.
Christmas, it's like that's great that it looks good, but the story is awful, and like the dialogue is awful, and I can't get involved with these characters because I dislike most of them.
Well, and here's
where-
and the big difference there between this and Nightmare. Sorry to cut you off, but I
No,
think the
you're good.
most important difference there is like Nightmare is writing the way it's writing very intentionally.
Yeah.
Greatest Showman is trying to be something else. It's
Yeah.
trying to take itself seriously. It
Yeah.
wants you to feel inspired, but it's like that person at the party that wants to be your friend, and you're like, I don't know why you want to be my friend so much. And it's
Yeah, man. Hey, I gotta
If you've
go
ever
get
had
some
that
punch.
person.
I don't know why you're trying to hang out with me. I'm just trying to hang out with the dog at this party.
Oh, you're following me to the punch bowl, Hugh Jackman? You don't need to follow me to the punch bowl.
No.
You can just
You can stay over there, P. You
just
stay over there.
there.
But I'd hang out
yeah,
with Jack any day.
I would.
Oh,
I would.
100%.
Jack seems like a chill dude.
Jack
He's
does
earnest,
seem
at
chill,
least.
dude.
Sally,
He's-
obviously.
Sally seems like the more chill hang. I don't know what it is.
Sally's
but,
a
like,
chill ass hang.
Yeah, Sally's a chill
question.
hang. But Jack, like, I don't know, something about his whole I don't really know how or why this works, but I can make it better type attitude makes me feel like, okay, he's gonna be the guy at the party just doing lines of cocaine and explaining to you why your life is
Oh, yeah.
terrible.
Listen, I also get that though from the college athlete mentality in it. Like I hope I
Mhm.
wasn't that guy,
get
but
that
I
too.
can hang out. I can hang out with that guy. That's like, I need to be the best at literally everything. It's like, all right, drinking games included. Cool. I guess we're on we're on this train now.
Yep. It's a different hang, but it can still be very fun, obviously.
Yep.
It
Sally's
has a
gonna
time limit.
smoke you out. Jack, you're going on an adventure. You're leaving the party at some point in the night.
Yes, absolutely.
Jack's just gone. He's the guy that you're like talking to. You turn away. Oh, Jack's gone.
What happened to Jack? Oh, he's just running around Christmastown like a fucking Dalmatian. Okay.
Sally knows. Sally knows where he's at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking on kind of a more lighthearted thing, this is the objectivist in me rejected it today. Going with
You
it
rejected
totally. I just want an opinion question. Want to hear your vibes on it. What point, man, do we just revel in style? Because like the first 5
Mhm.
minutes of this movie, I was like, man, this is great.
Yep.
I was just like, just wash over me just the whole time. And
Mhm.
to give a example of a movie we'll never talk about on this show because it's a war film. I kind of did this with the one Michael Bay movie I've ever liked. He didn't write, which is probably why I liked it. But what is it called? It's the Benghazi one. 13 hours. 13 hours. You took Michael Bay's like really good explosion style, applied it to a pretty decently written war movie, and I was like, damn, all right, I like a Michael Bay movie. Can't believe I've ever said that in my life. So yeah, that was kind of a moment where I was like, you know what, Michael, your style fits this project. Let me just like wash over me, buddy. And yeah, what point do we get there, or do y'all personally get there where it's like, you know what, plot holes be damned, I'm vibing? Erik first.
Normally it's drinking.
You're on the right show.
I came to horror late. My wife is super into B horror, and so like I've started watching a lot of those B horror films, and normally I have to, have a couple drinks to just be like, you know what, I'm okay with watching this bad thing for just the sake of its kind of style that it's going for. I think it's totally fine to have that. I'm not normally a like shut my mind off person. Like Clay was talking earlier about like his shut his mind off podcast. I don't have that. I am the let's get some sativa in here and like go even harder. So when I'm doing something to be like, I'm just gonna watch it for style and push it off to the side, like I gotta have a drink or two in me.
I'm muted. That is fair. that is 100% fair. I definitely have those as well, but I do have some that I'm just like vibing. But Clay, what do you think?
I have been trying to. This show has changed the way I watch things quite a bit. Now, when I'm not watching something for the show, I watch it in a very different way. I'm also more particular because I have to watch a lot of things for this show. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure how to answer the question at this stage. I've gotten myself on a little bit of a tangent. Give me the question one more time.
When do you kind of just let style wash over you, plot holes be damned, all things be damned?
Yeah.
You're just enjoying the vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything you watch that's got any kind of nostalgia power over you, nostalgia kind of like kicks off all your sensors. And I think that's what I was trying to get to with the show before my mind wandered away from me. Like this show's made me watch things with more intentionality, regardless of, even if I'm not watching it for the show, because I'm more picky and choosy. So things I watch these days, I'm usually looking to let the vibe wash over me, whatever it might be. The vibe is the main thing I'm usually looking for. I'm very engrossed in the tone of a movie, the intentionality of the story, the realism in the dialogue and characters, and all those things kind of rely on a well-cultivated atmosphere, which I think all combine to be the general vibe, right? So vibe is honestly the first thing I'm looking for. Everything I watch is that. Unless I have to watch it for this podcast and I'm like, this isn't really my vibe, but here we are. Which, does happen. But yeah, I honestly, Nightmare Before Christmas was between there. It could have been either one, but I went into it very purposefully. So I was able to let it wash over me, and I did enjoy it much more for that. So I think there's something to be said for that too. Like going into things with intentionality and awareness of like, you're witnessing someone's art, like respect it enough to understand what ways it might not relate to you. Acknowledge those, and then understand that it's not the movie's job or the story's job to appeal to every single person on earth.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Jeremy?
See, I wouldn't say there's anything that like can just appeal to me on vibes alone. I'm just not that guy. I don't have the turn off your brain switch built in. That for me, but like further beyond that, like I don't think that plot holes are things that can break a movie, because like no movie's gonna, if a movie took the time to like explain everything that maybe while you're looking at it doesn't exactly make sense, every movie would be like 28 hours long and no one would watch them because they would be horrible.
To be clear, I just used plot holes as like the first thing that popped in my mind. Lots of things can ruin movies for a lot of people. Plot holes is one that, like, glaring plot holes is one that ruins it for me. But like, insert whatever you want. That wasn't really the
insert whatever I want. And while I'm doing that, when I'm doing that, like if anything, ruining things through pedantic over analysis is basically one of my love languages. So like I will do that with things that I don't like, but I will do that over and over for things that I really like. It's perfect. It's wonderful. Anybody want to watch Speed Racer? It's
I was just gonna say though, like
every time.
So you wouldn't say that the reason you don't care about all the plot holes in Speed Racer isn't because of the vibe? Isn't it?
Yeah, no.
Isn't the vibe reigning supreme?
It's not the vibe reigning supreme. It's the vibe, the characters, the story, peak cinema through and through, stream of consciousness, editing that you won't see anywhere else. It's perfection.
I literally had to surrender to that movie. Like I got 20 minutes in and I was like fighting. I was like, I hate this. And then there was a moment where I was like, just let it happen. Just let Speed Racer happen to me. Sorry, Eric.
You're all good. Doesn't bring you to tears, then you don't have feelings. I'm sorry that you found out this way.
I think, Travis, what you said is actually my answer to walk it back. It's if I have never seen it before, if what I am watching is going on its own thing, and like whether it's how it's filmed, whether it's showing us characters we've never seen before, points of view we've never seen before, I am okay with a bad movie being bad, as long as it's like this is something new, something that you haven't experienced before. I think that is where I'm okay with just going with the vibe.
That's why I constantly use, like, I probably beat this to death, people, listeners of the show, I'm sorry, but I use Fast and Furious a lot because I think there's a time when you see this, in my opinion, like, and maybe that's the objectivist in me coming in, but like where I think it is when the creator gives you a hint of like not the film you think it's going to be, or like this is a vibe film, kind of like inserts. Speed Racer did that with a couple lines where I was like, oh, this is the movie we're watching. Okay, Nanjas, that's where we are. Cool, I'm in. You got me. You got me where I needed to be with Nanjas.
Totally
and
different.
The Fast and Furious franchise did the same thing with like Fast 4 is so bad because it's like they were at this weird transition period where they were trying to still be Fast and Furious 1, this like high intensity like drama about mechanics, but then they added in this drug cartel like crime storyline, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And they tried to keep it gritty and serious. And then Fast 5, like minutes in, you get the most ridiculous action scene like of all time, and you're just like, oh, okay, so we've just abandoned the grittiness and we're a superhero film with cars. I'm in. Like, I am in.
The superpower is cars.
The superpower is cars. And from then on, the franchise is stuck with that. And that's where I'm like, I think there's a signal that creators give to you of like, if you're taking this too seriously, here's the moment where you have to make a choice. Are you going to be like turning the screen off? Or are you just going to be like, oh, that's what this is? Cool. Like, here I am.
to use an actual superhero movie, Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, you get the eye pop out, and it's like, this is a Sam Raimi movie, not a Marvel movie. Are we in?
Right.
Are you in or are you unplugging? I love it. That'll not transition nicely at all to Travis's pretentious question of the week. I'm actually very excited about this one because there's a guy I want to advertise that I don't know him at all, but he deserves to be an advertised. His name's Adam Walker. Look him up on YouTube. His channel is called Close Reading Poetry. He was a Harvard graduate, I think, one of the Ivy Leagues, and he went back to be a professor of it, but I'm pretty sure he quit academia because he's pretty dissatisfied with it. And now he's doing it on YouTube for free. And he's done this list of 357 works of the complete English canon. And he's kind of arguing yes, I know there's going to be things I miss and we don't really know what the canon is. But what he did is he went back and he scoured all the I think 50s on syllabi of old Ivy League schools and compiled what they used to call the canon and gave it to YouTube for free as this, hey, if you want to try and read the greats, here they are. But the question I want to ask isn't about the books. He categorized them into 5 categories, genres that I find really interesting because they encapsulate, I think, everything. And I would say genre fiction fits into one, and maybe people would dismiss it as not fitting into one. So really, this is more of just a discussion topic to end the show. His categories are the novel, the drama, lyric, which is poetry, the epic, and then criticisms and essays. And I would just honestly love to hear your thoughts on those 5 categories: novel, drama, lyric, epic, criticism, and essay. And do you think that does it? Does that encapsulate all the ways you can write in the English language? And I think genre fiction would fit into the novel most often, but probably everywhere it could be. And where do you think you find so 3 questions here. Do you like his categories? Where does genre fiction fit the most often? And which one's your favorite?
Go ahead, Eric.
Nope. You can go ahead, Clay.
I was gonna say I don't feel like I can really speak to whether I like his categorizations because I don't understand how they're defined. If you're going to tell me that all writing can be categorized into 5 things, I'm going to have to learn more about what each of those 5 things means before I can speak to one with any kind of authority or even understanding. So I don't like those categories on the outset. I am definitely naturally averse to believing that you can lump an entire art form into 5 boxes. And I think there will always be things that break out of the norm enough or cross those lines enough. But I'm sure he sounds like a very intelligent, educated person. So I'm not going to say I know more than him about story structure by any means.
And I also, to add in, I don't think in his video he argues all of language can be encapsulated here. He's just arguing for return to a clear kind of trajectory for college courses, and here's 5 good categories to do so. So sorry if I misconstrued that. But.
Still, I clearly just don't have enough understanding to talk about it in too much depth, unfortunately. But I would say, generally speaking, I think it's hard to categorize things that succinctly. I think that that's sort of the framework upon which inventive stories are built. They're largely built on subversion of things that can capture most stories, because the more unique stories are going to be outliers. Everything's kind of going to fall somewhere in that bell curve on the spectrum where it's shaded in dark. Most stories are in there somewhere, no matter how unique they are. They all come from something before. They all come from influence. we are like the next filters of the stories we tell, all through our contribution and our voice from our experiences. So yeah, I don't think you can categorize things so simply. I don't tend to agree with that, generally speaking. That's kind of my 2 cents on it. If it were genre fiction, I would say that still doesn't really, that doesn't, you can write genre fiction in all of those forms, I would imagine, as long as you have speculative elements. And I would argue that there is most certainly genre fiction of a high enough caliber in every single one of those categories, and millions of examples of such that I don't know personally, but I would certainly buy into that. And that just depends on what you define as speculative too. I mean, you know, is mythology religion? Is it spiritualism? Is it a fantasy story? You know, and how often are those lines kind of blurred in the creation of new things, which are in many ways interpretations and retellings. Again, like Lord of the Rings is an interesting example of like repurposing a lot of mythos, but taking it to a degree relatively directly from mythos, which is like in that gray area. But I don't know what you guys think about that. I'm trying to get a little more pretentious with my answer for you. I hope that met the bare minimum at least.
I think you have a good point. That's one of the reasons I loved his videos so much, though, is like he doesn't try and toe this line between like, do you believe it's real or not with mythology? He puts it in epic, and I agree with that. Like it is most all mythology. I would even venture to say all religious original texts I've read, and that's from the Hindu, Christian, Islamic, and Greek faiths, are epic in scale, and like they fit the same sort of style, maybe not style, but like trajectory of story as you'd see in the Iliad. So I was like, oh, here's a thing that you can get away from the debate of like, is it myth or is it fact, and just say like the story itself that's being told is an epic. And I thought that was really cool. But not to get too far away from my original question, Eric and Jeremy, but I can restate it if you want.
I think the number one thing that I think, looking at this, is I don't know where comic books and graphic novels come in, because graphic storytelling has become a huge thing, even in academia, within the last 30 years. And so maybe you could lump that in with novel. Again, like Clay was saying, I don't know where he's drawing the lines, but you could make an argument they're called graphic novels for a reason. They're your storytelling effectively, but not at that epic scale. And so looking at that, like there are things that I find that I don't know which one it would classify as, and a lot of things I can point to that kind of loop over multiple things. There are plenty of stories that combine novel and lyric, plenty of epics that are told on a drama scale, thinking of like Angels in America. That is an epic story told through drama. And so like I keep finding things that I can be like, all right, these are the exception that prove the rule type thing. But I think, kind of like Clay was saying, the more we try to categorize things, the easier it is to start poking holes in those categories. But at a certain point, we like categorizing things as humans. We like coming up with neat little boxes that we can put everything into. And so if you're going to come up with only 5 things that are telling things, or like that are the stories that we tell, then sure, maybe this list is just as good as any other list that we could come up with. If we sat here and tried to categorize literally everything, we'd come up with 100 lists and be like, this is a graphic novel that's also having poetry, and you need to listen to some music and go see the live show to get the whole thing. And so I think if you're going to say we need to categorize everything we talk about, in the entire writing world into 5 items, this is as good a list as any.
Yeah.
You know, I think I definitely agree with a lot of that. But first and foremost, I think that like if we're adding comics and graphic novels into this, I would say that the visual elements are like the visual equivalent of lyric. So like they're visually lyrical. And that, whereas, yeah, that's at least my thinking of it. But like, I think I agree with the whole thing of like trying to fit even a single piece of fiction into being just novel or just drama or lyric or epic or criticism would be crazy and kind of fruitless. I think that even though the categories themselves, like they span a lot of different works, I think it would be a mistake to like use them in that way. And like rather than using these 5 things as like a sorting system for your things, maybe just like a lens through which things can be examined, or like looking at something and saying like, okay, so how novel is this? How dramatic? How lyrical is it? Is it epic? If so, to what degree? And like, rather than just being like, you're drama, now go over there with the drama, be dramatic over there, and stay put. You know,
I will say that is not what Adam does. I highly suggest people go.
Well, yeah, I wasn't assuming. He sounded like a smart guy.
His video is called "The Complete English Reading List: 357 Works." Adam Walker on YouTube. And my last thing on this, and then I'm done. Though I'm going to advertise something for us, is that I think to Clayton's really early point when he talked about going into The Nightmare Before Christmas and changing his kind of mindset of like, this is a movie made for teenagers and like kids. And it's a movie made for a specific audience that's leaning more heavily into the theater elements and away from the like plot and character development elements, and how that changes it. The reason I think these kind of categories can be important is, to your point, Jeremy, of a lens to view things, because in the video he lists one American epic, and it's one Clayton and I have been debating about for a while. I haven't read it yet, so I can't debate too much, and usually I just don't. But it makes me, when I'm going into it soon, I'm going to be like, oh, that makes sense. It's Moby Dick. And if you view Moby Dick as an epic, not a novel, I think that can maybe like paint it in a different way, because epics tend to have very long, boring historical soliloquies from characters.
It's definitely the way to go into it.
If that was the style that was intended, if Herman Melville was writing an American epic, that changes the way that I'm going to approach that book. And maybe makes me, because I think the thing to appreciate about epics is the language less than the story itself. Like the Iliad isn't beautiful because of the story. It's a story about guys killing each other for 380 pages. The thing to appreciate is the language of it. And that's what I think an epic is. So that was really cool to be like, oh, when I read Moby Dick, let me try this and I'll see how I absorb it, rather than how I was going to, which was just like, yeah, it's just a novel, it's a book. Anyway, speaking of pretentious questions, if you want to be part of the Fermented Fiction Discord, you sure can, but only if you go over to our Patreon and sign up. You know, I think the Discord is for the $5 tier. It's as low as $5, people, to become a patron of Fermented Fiction. And if you go up a little more in money, you're going to get a lot more stuff. Like we have opportunities for you to come on the show and actually have a question ready for your favorite authors. We have opportunities for writing retreats. We have opportunities for book boxes, care packages. And at our lowest tiers, second lowest tier, $10, you're going to get a book from Clayton that's amazing and signed by him. So a lot of good stuff over there. Go to Patreon. I don't know what is, I think it's patreon.com/fermentedfiction. Yes.
Correct.
And please show us some love because we love doing this for free and we will keep doing it for free. But it'd be great if we could get paid. That's all for me.
Yeah, free isn't a requirement. We don't have to do it for free. We can still do it if you give us money.
That's true. That's true. It's not mandatory for us. Totally optional for you, by the way. So yeah, do go check out the Patreon. We're gonna do lots of cool extra things over there. It's gonna be fun. And before we get out of here, we will rate this thing. So the way we rate things at Fermented Fiction is how many beers or substances of your choice do you need to enjoy The Nightmare Before Christmas to its fullest extent? And what would you have? How would you have it? Travis, we'll start with you.
Yeah. I hate eggnog. I think that'd be a great answer, but I really don't like eggnog. Jeremy, what did you make again? It was the Jack.
I was going to bring up the Jack and Coke nog.
No, the one you're having today, the maple one.
That is a maple old fashioned with a Jack Daniel's single barrel. It's that do it. That'll get you there. That'll get you right.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have. I'm not even gonna add a rule to this one. I'm just gonna
King of the pumpkins, baby.
You want like 3 of those,
probably,
in the hour and 15, and you'll be pretty buzzed or drunk.
I like that. I like that. I think you should get a nice pumpkin ale, just for the flavor profile there of the holidays, and then take mushrooms. It'd be fun.
That would be a fun trip.
I think you'll really get into this movie with that. It's a beautiful visual experience. It's kind of a little fun roller coaster ride through 2 holidays. Don't take an outrageous amount. Just take enough just to be, for the room to be changing shape a little bit. Have a good time. What do you think, Eric? Or Jeremy, sorry. Then we'll end with Eric.
Well, hey, I think the mushrooms are probably a good call. Have enough of those until you can pick a flower and watch it turn into a Christmas tree, and then watch it spontaneously combust and be like, "This is worrying." But
yes,
back to my initial rating. You're gonna want something strong and something themed like either holiday, or I guess any holiday. The world is your holiday. But you're going to want to start drinking and going hard every time a song happens. Because they're not... Look, we can get through these together. Just waterfall it through every song. You may pass out.
Okay. Well, that's a take. Eric, how about you? And then one more time, who are you and where can people find you?
Yeah, I would say, have a nice mulled wine. It's the holidays. Maybe 3 mulled wines throughout. Again, it is a kid show or a kid's movie. So, don't get too messed up, especially if there are kids around. But I think you can enjoy it for what it is as long as you just distance yourself just enough with the mulled wine. But I'm Eric. I'm Erik Keevan. You can find me at erikkeevan.me, or you can go to HWA Seattle, where Clay and I both work to help bring spooky literature to the really Washington. It's called HWA Seattle, but it's all of Washington State. We're all around. We're doing a bunch of fun stuff. It's a great place if you write or just enjoy horror literature, to learn a little bit more about it, get out into the world of horror, and we kind of help educate and get you in places that may be cost prohibitive for an individual. So it's a great place to build a community.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have opportunities to, for unique publishing and performing opportunities. We have selling events, we have social events, we have education opportunities, talks, lectures, and education from the other side, like getting your foot in the door in a convention or something. We have multiple conventions where we have, quite a bit of say in who could come and do panels. So it's a good place to be. Definitely come check us out. Please go check out the Fermented Fiction Patreon. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this thing everywhere you can if you like it, because we are an independently produced venture. We appreciate you all for being here. Thank you so much, Erik, for being a guest today, and love y'all. Have a happy holiday, whatever holiday you might be celebrating, and stay safe out there. Stay warm. Goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Happy holidays, y'all.